Please be seated. The court is now in session. For today's and tomorrow's proceedings, the Chamber will hear testimony of an expert through TCE 81 in relation to the regulations of marriage. Mr. Ji Xiaohuang, please report the attendance of the parties and other individuals to today's proceedings. Greffier. Mr. President, for today's proceedings, all parties to this case are present. Mr. Nguyen Chi is present in the holding cell downstairs. He has waived his right to be present in the courtroom. The waiver has been delivered to the greffier. The expert who is to testify today, that is to TCE 81, confirms that through her best knowledge, he has no relationship by blood or by law to any other two accused, that is Nguyen Chi and Kieu Sampon, or to any other civil parties admitted in this case. The expert will take an oath before the chamber, and the expert is ready to be called by the chamber. Thank you. President, thank you, Mr. Ji Xiaohuang. The chamber now decides on the request by Nguyen Chi. The chamber has received a waiver from Nguyen Chi dated 10 October 2016, which states that due to his health, that is headache, back pain, he cannot sit or concentrate for long, and in order to effectively participate in future hearings, he requires to waive his rights to be present at the 10 October 2016 hearing. He advises that his counsel advised him about the consequence of this waiver, that in no way it can be construed as a waiver of his rights to be tried fairly or to challenge evidence presented to or admitted by this court at any time during this trial. Having seen the medical report of Nguyen Chi by the duty doctor for the accused at the ECCC, dated 10 October 2016, which notes that today Nguyen Chi has a severe back pain when he sits for long, and recommends that the chamber shall grant him his request so that he can follow the proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs. Based on the above information, and pursuant to Rule 81.5 of the ECCC internal rules, the chamber grants Nguyen Chi his request to follow today's proceedings remotely from the holding cell downstairs via an audio-visual means. The chamber instructs the AV unit personnel to link the proceedings to the room downstairs so that Nguyen Chi can follow. That applies for the whole day. And before we proceed to hear testimony of experts to TCE 81, the chamber wishes to hear oral observations by parties, as the chamber notifies parties via email through the senior legal officers on 6 October 2016. First is the request by the lead co-lawyers for civil parties to admit into evidence documents pursuant to Rule 87.4 and 87.4 of the internal rules, and second, the request by Kieu Sampon defense to admit to documents into evidence pursuant to Rule 87.4, and three, the request by Nguyen Chi defense on the sequence of questioning through TCW 960. First, the chamber wishes to hear oral responses to the request by the lead co-lawyers. On 27 September 2016, lead co-lawyers for civil parties notified the chamber via email that they request the chamber to admit excerpts of books authored by experts to TCE 81. The chamber now hands the floor to the lead co-lawyers to make a brief summary of the request. Do you have the floor?
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all of you. I'm going to provide you a short explanation of this request, which is tending to admit 5 chapters of a book that was written by the expert who is going to come testify today. And the book is called, and it was published in 2010. And it is mainly the thesis, the dissertation of the expert. So up until now, we only had her dissertation on the case file. And it seemed, however, important and logical to us, and in the interest of justice, to also tender the publication, the actual book, which led to this dissertation, especially since this book, Love and Dread in Cambodia, is mentioned in the expert's resume, which was admitted by the chamber. So we would like to have the chapters 1, 2, 4, 5, and 9 admitted into evidence. And they all include additions in relation to the dissertation, which is already on the case file. Thank you, Mr. President. I think that this pretty much sums up our request.
Thank you. And I'd like to hand the floor now to the co-prosecutor to make an oral observation on the request by lead co-lawyers for civil parties.
Thank you, Mr. President. We do not object. In fact, it's our position. I actually reviewed this book, read the book this weekend, that there does seem to be some subtle differences, some that can be important between the book and the thesis. For example, in the introduction, which counsel did not request be admitted, the topics of the interviews are listed as 13, while in the dissertation it's only listed as 10. So there's some additional topics added. It's our position that in line with the Chamber's general policy of admitting all writings, statements of a witness on the topic, particularly experts, that the entire book should be admitted, but we certainly do not object to counsel's request.
Thank you, and I'd like to hand the floor now to the co-counsel for Nuon Chea to respond to the request.
Thank you, Mr. President. Good morning, Your Honours. Welcome back, by the way, Mr. President. Since it is the expert for the request of the Q-Sampan team, we would prefer counsel for Q-Sampan to respond to the request. We have no submissions.
Thank you, Mr. President, and good morning to all of you. Now, regarding the LCL's submission, we have no problems with that. It's simply a chapter in which the parties were in which the parts were identified and reviewed. So we have no issues regarding the chapters that were requested by the civil party co-lawyers, insofar that the expert will be able to speak about the additions, and so we have no problems with that.
May I just ask an additional question? By now we have an additional request from the prosecutor to admit the whole book. Any submission on that?
Yes, Your Honor. As I said, maybe it wasn't clear enough, but we do not object to the chapters that were identified by the civil party co-lead lawyers. But, however, we do not believe that the totality of the book is necessary to admit into evidence because there are repeats